Well, good morning. It's about 2:27 in the morning. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Thanks for watching us here on Mississippi Live Weather as we're kind of checking in on things here across North Mississippi. To this point, we have had no severe weather warnings of significance in our kind of official outlined designated viewing area. Hopefully that remains the case overnight. There's only kind of a slim zone here that we're watching that potential. We have had, though, at least one brief touchdown of a tornado down in central Mississippi associated with this storm system that we are watching at this time. Let's kind of bring in the players here for a moment. As we've talked a lot about over the last 24 hours or so, locations south had a lot more fuel. We do have a tornado warning ongoing around the Jackson area as well. And we see in blue there, that is a tornado watch box that does extend up to Madison County, which is just south of Tallow County up here, which we count as kind of the southern end of our viewing area. So we're just on the fringe of something more significant just down to the south. And so as we kind of bring things in here a little closer on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, a couple things. Again, tornado warning does continue down there closer to the Jackson metro area. Again, not officially in what we're at least at this stage designating our coverage area down here. I want to bring in, again, the radar out of Jackson, take a look kind of the way things stand at this moment here. Closer radar site does a better job of showing kind of what we were talking about last night, how we have these initial thunderstorms kind of merging into the line where those mergers happen or there's an extra surge. You can from time to time see these try to produce a tornado. So watch one kind of the north side of Jackson there. Typically you're going to see very brief spin-ups with storms like this, but that's not to say you couldn't have, again, another one of those. But again, at least one tornado touchdown there so far confirmed by a Doppler radar to this point. Go ahead and give me a moment here to kind of populate that on there. We'll bring it to the latest scans here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Again, back there west of Bolton, near Edwards, south of I-20. That little circle you see there is the one that we are looking at that. So again, try to see if I can multitask what we have on the screen there. But again, a tornado debris signature noted a little bit ago by the National Weather Service there. The discussion, again, trees down all along Halls Ferry Road. The description of that pull down Clay and Highway 27 there in Warren County. So yeah, obviously some damage, at the very least wind damage associated with this on the north side of Jackson, where that is most likely. I'm going to come back to this here in just a moment. Obviously our core viewing area is up slightly farther north, and I'm going to touch on that again, Simon, down there in Madison here, and just give me just a moment here to do that. So the storms, I just want to call your attention to the contrast and the way these look for just a moment. As you'll notice, these definitely are a lot stronger looking down here, Canton, Ridgeland, Jackson, versus what we have Carthage. I mean, I'll just step to this side here so you can see it here for a moment. Big difference in what this looks like up north. We're kind of on the northern edge of the effective warm sector here versus down here in Louisville versus down here in Carthage, and then farther south toward Canton and Ridgeland. So big difference on the intensity of what we're working with here. Easy way to kind of show that, and then we'll kind of dig in more in the nitty-gritty here for a second, is this measure of moisture, the dew points there. This kind of signifies kind of the effective north side on how far north the more unstable air is going. That's part of the reason why you're not going to hear me say your name hardly at all outside of this exact moment. In Grenada or Aberdeen or Columbus, while we have some rumbles, we do not have anything of significance that far north. Let's bring it back to, again, Mississippi Live Weather Radar in the northern part of the state, and maybe just as importantly, we'll do our go to sleeps farther north, or maybe go back to sleeps, the best way to describe it. So I would say, let's use purple here for this. If you are north and west of this line here, you can go to sleep. Well, that doesn't matter. You can see where I'm going with it. Let me try to write sleep in a different word up here, in a different color. L-E-E-P. All this up here, we can go to sleep, right? Up, beyond that to the north and west as well. So this is a narrow corridor here, really southeast or to Tallow County, Winston County, Noxubee County, Pickens County, Alabama, and then down into central Mississippi where we have concerns. Everything else is just a couple rumbles and rainfall. Nothing of concern farther north there, okay? So just want to make sure we get that out and about to begin with here. And again, lots of great TV stations do great coverage in the Jackson area. We're not quite at that stage where I feel comfortable throwing all of our resources on that, but let's talk about what we have down here. So again, kind of looking at Mississippi Live Weather Radar here for a moment. We're going to check out the wind mode, what we call storm relative winds there. We've had kind of the interactions along the leading edge of that. Fix one thing behind the scenes here. I have a little bit of a lag when I'm off site, so I'm going to clean up that lag. So give me just a moment. Okay, so just kind of right along the leading edge there, where we're watching that tornado warning continue for Hinds County, for Rankin County until 3 o'clock in the morning. Current time is 2:32 a.m. We have storm reports on there. Let's make sure that we kind of check out some of the different information. We should have both of those toggled on. Yep. Okay, so our shear markers are toggled on. No official shear markers coming out on this at this moment. Bring that down. Let's kind of do some assessment on this. So let's go back a few scans here. And I'm going to take this down to 1 minute data for the last 30 minutes here. Let's get a good loop of this. Again, near Clinton, it's really kind of this narrow zone there south of Ridgeland. In particular, where we're kind of watching up here on the north side of Jackson. So if you're up here, Canton, we're in good shape on this particular storm. It's really kind of right there on the north side of Jackson that we're looking at as well, just on the kind of the south side of the reservoir, but from the looks of it. Give me a moment here. Again, I'll be honest, I am, again, going to have to learn the Jackson area better. So you'll have to bear with me as we go through that process. Let me force that off of the screen here for a second, which should. Jackson, let's go. There we are. Yeah, so obviously there's the reservoir. So we're down south of that here, where I show East Main Estates near Highway 25. We're closer to that zone where we have some limited rotation. There's not a lot on there on this scan. So let's go back and check another way we call base velocity on this, and perhaps that'll show it a little bit better here. Again, looking at a 30-minute loop. I do not have, I think, a well-defined area of circulation there, but near Eastover, right here near, I think you can kind of see where my mouse is showing up on the screen at this point. That's right there where we're watching this, just along the Rankin and Hinds County line at this instance, right along Pearl River there. Moving toward Castlewood, Summerwood there, and Arrowhead Point. Checking our discussion with the National Weather Service. No new information about the last 8 minutes or so in that. I'm going to check our discussion with the North Mississippi storm chasers who have had folks out in these storms throughout the overnight time period. Just kind of check on where they are with this. So give me a moment here. Moment. My app here is going to take a moment to get reconnected. So I think it's worthwhile to make sure they don't have something else going on there that we're not missing. Adrian with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers in position down there. Give me a moment while I pull up behind the scenes where his stream should be available. So let's get you if you're ahead of this, certainly along Highway 25. Let's get back here to precipitation mode for a second. I say all that. I would actually say it looks like it's up here toward Ridgeland on precip mode. Yeah, that's getting a little more organized up here toward Madison right now. So what we have is an area down here close to Eastover and one up toward Madison that we're watching. Again, speed on this, let me double check on this for a moment. They're going 50 miles per hour. I think that's not unreasonable. So let's take that up to 50 miles per hour here on the forward motion. And I'm going to capture more than just one point of concern with this. I'm going to go a little wider. And then we're going to get a new update on that here in just a moment. There we go. And so there's some times on your screen. Obviously, we're in very, very close here. So a lot of those cities, see if it will let us. I'm going to have to adjust that track in just a second because those times are all now a couple moments old because we got a new update as soon as we got that on there. So let's get that back on for a moment. We'll go slightly larger cities. So, okay, I apologize. It's going to take us a little time to get back to where we're at full on do this mode during severe weather coverage, as I kind of learned what the system is good at and what it needs work at. Okay, so looking farther out there, Brandon 248, Pelatachi there at 3 o'clock, Morton at 3:10, 3:15, Walnut Grove and Forest at 3:23. But I'm going to change that. We have a bunch of other spots on there in the shorter term here as I kind of come in close and look at what else this is capable of. But there are some times on your screen in the now term: Grandview Heights, Patton Place, Randall Place, Wells, Deerfield, Bellaire there. And again, this is around the Jackson area for a moment. Okay, let's look at, well, that is up there at our severe threats. Again, seeing certainly an enhancement on the hail threat there closer to the Ridgeland area. Checking the hail track in particular. We do show a few spots there. We probably have a little bit of hail potentially. We're not to the full-on probable scale, and hail is not the main factor we end up seeing on this. But again, appreciate True Shield Roofing for partnering with us on that. Looking for, again, the areas of circulation. When I'm up here, I don't see a well-defined inflow area there. It tells me maybe we're at the point where this is, it's going to be kind of the wall of wind working eastward, but I don't have couplets or anything in the two spots I'd be looking at here near East Manor Estates and the one just east of Madison there, the two spots I'll be watching. The National Weather Service went downstream severe, also saw a spotter network report come in that when the storm passed over Tougaloo, that a rotating wall cloud was observed, but no funnel on that. Worth watching, but that's a good sign. The fact that I don't immediately see a giant area of significant concern is a good sign, but still, they've gone with the downstream severe thunderstorm warning with the tag tornado possible, with the idea that it's still possible that this could try to spin something up. But at this point here, looking ahead of this, that remains a bit of a question. Hopefully that continues to be the case. But certainly radar indicated wind with this there, possibility. And I need to clarify that. It does not look like they left tornado possible in the tag of that. So to be clear on that, while there is still some rotation, again, that's a definite reduction in their confidence level. I apologize, I'm a little under the weather because naturally there's a change in the season, so my sinus stuff has gone all crazy there. So I'll say this. Suzanne was trying to get confirmation there in Madison. No tornado on the ground in Madison. Again, appreciate the folks there in Clinton for watching as well. Calhoun County, 1.63 inches of rain so far, man. So the reason why the tornado sirens keep going off there in the Brandon area is related to this line. And in saying that, there's one other thing that, here, let's go wide here for a moment. Let's make sure there's not something farther north in our core area that we're missing. I'm going to look closer up here toward Columbus just to make sure. And I apologize. I've got the stuff. Let's go 1 hour loop here. So, this is, you can see a clear-cut difference in just looking at our scale. And it's a different radar, and it's partially attenuated, but even from this far away, this bow down here toward Madison is the one that catches your eye. So we'll bring it back down there. And I cannot say that we will always be covering central Mississippi like this. We're still, expanding staff. There could become a point where that is what we do more. But let's look here closer toward locations just east of Madison. One of the things that catches my eye on this, and I'm going to put it on the latest scans here to kind of show you, and I'm going to kind of cut through the mess of precipitation, is you can kind of see, hopefully, you have this arc sort of shape here, right? Sometimes you get some rotation kind of the backside on this there. So let's check out that potential. That's kind of what I'm watching over top of you in Madison at the moment. But on the wind mode, it does not show up impressively. So whether it's just the angle chosen or what have you, luckily that is not as rough looking there. So that's a good sign. Checking our severe threats on this. Again, picking out that hail threat on what's coming through Ridgeland. Let's see how threats has behaved through the course of this. Again, tornado touchdown there Earlier on, out toward the Edwards area, as you can see highlighted on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, where you see that circle, that's where that occurred just a little bit ago. So get that to populate on there. So again, tornado debris signature and some damage reports coming from that area associated with this. Question about tornado warnings near Canton. There is one that is just southwest of Canton. That is set to expire here in a little bit. That would be at 3 a.m. The portion that we're watching, again, near Madison at this time, does not look as impressive here. But I would say certainly if you're ahead of this, we need to be probably at the very least within steps of our tornado safe place out that direction there. So again, what are we talking about here for a moment? We're talking about a situation where Doppler radar detected rotation. We also briefly had debris that was detected on Mississippi Live Weather Radar earlier on with this storm. Now, that is not the case in Madison and Deerfield and Barnes Prairie there, Arrowhead Point, or over top of the reservoir at this point. But certainly something we're watching there for you in Ridgeland. Again, the worst is probably just a little bit past you as it moves its way toward Coke, Eureka, and Bilbros Corner out to the east. We try to have every location we can has shown up on the map there. So from time to time, it'll take us a minute to dissect what we're looking at on that. But in particular, when we look at the wind mode, if I were expecting to see something of significance, I would expect something a little stronger than what we're looking at there. I'm going to take this back, and you can see where we did have, again, that brief tornado debris signature back when it was west here. Let's go back to the debris mode on this. See if we can kind of pick that out when it was back there. Change this to 1 minute data. So give me just a moment to take it back. Now I need to look closer at that. Give me a second. Is that going to completely change that, or can I keep it on that same scan? Okay, good. See, I see my signature a little farther south than where they put that on there. Yeah, I don't know that I see it down south there. So I think that positioning might be a little off. Either way, some reports of sporadic damage in that area. I would put my signature maybe a little farther south. Okay, so now let's bring it to current time just to double check. Again, current time is 2:45 a.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather, our live stream, of course, in the Mississippi Live Weather app. One of the places, of course, where you can view this. And if you have concerns ahead of this, highly recommend, again, your tornado safe place is one of those places to consider going. Again, it's a small windowless room and a sturdy structure. Got to find that sturdy structure first before you find that small windowless room. A place where we can get to the middle of the lowest floor, wrap up in blankets, pillows, put on a helmet to protect yourself from debris, and stay there until we can give you the all clear. Again, that tornado warning does continue until 3 a.m. Let's keep you in a safer location if possible there. Again, in Madison and Hinds County associated with that. I'm looking here at, again, as we kind of look at the best way to check this out, looking at our Doppler debris, I don't really see anything there that super catches my eye at this moment. There's a couple things we look at. Obviously, the blue areas here where we have a lower correlation, but also consistency at time to time. So most of what we see out here is ahead of the line. If we were to put on the precipitation with that, you can see it's ahead of the precipitation, right? So we expect there to be a low correlation because you have bugs, you have raindrops, you have just dust, all different sizes, no correlation or very low correlation. And so that's what keeps that threat. That's what makes that kind of show up the way it does. We have a new scan coming in on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. And again, one of the concerns over the next couple of hours is as these storms in advance kind of merge with the line, you can get beneficial, in a bad way, areas of circulation kind of develop on the front end of that. So that's one of the spots where we'd be watching that out here, Philadelphia, Walnut Grove, east of Ridgeland there, east of Jackson, as much. Checking with North Mississippi Storm Chasers and their discussion. I don't see anything of significance on that as well at this point here. So that's a good sign that hopefully continues to be the case. Let's come bring down again those, put on those codes to remind you that if you happen to be watching us on social media, we do have an app for that. and we think it should be part of building your armor. We start talking about start talking about severe weather. So the Mississippi Live Weather app, again, free and available for all those different devices. They are one of a number of things in your tool chest, including Weather Call, which will call you if a tornado warning is issued for your specific area. And so as these storms move eastward, Walnut Grove, Forest, Decatur, South Philadelphia, DeKalb, North Meridian, this zone here will eventually have this thunderstorm move in, and so that threat for rotation and potentially tornadoes will eventually exist for you as well. So kind of tracking the most likely portion of that line to produce that kind of weather eastward at about 50 miles per hour, just to give some times farther ahead, just as you're thinking about this farther ahead. I'm going to make this a 100-mile track. Again, not everybody in this spot's going to have tornadoes, things of that nature, but it is just to kind of look ahead and say, hey, what eventually could we be contending with? That's what this is there. So I'm going to change our size a little larger as you kind of look ahead there. So about 4:30 in the morning, scuba. Of course, by that point, meteorologist Megan Colligan will already watching things behind the scenes. We'll have some updates there. So that's kind of your longer track ahead with this. So be thinking about building those layers of armor just in case something were to get a little more rough. Let's go ahead and clear off all of that and kind of bring it back here again. Current time is 2:48 a.m. Some questions here in the northern part of the state, and we'll clarify what we mentioned a little earlier, which is that we do not have significant concerns in North Mississippi. So that's part of the reason we're not talking about what we have up here. Here's our traditional coverage area. You can kind of see outlined in kind of a dark black there. We'll clear that off for a moment. We'll make this into a loop. We'll make it into a 1-hour loop here. And so our traditional coverage area up here, we're going to put in purple all the spots we're watching. But I would say everything back here like this. You all know how I love drawing my zigzags, right? Everywhere back north like this, we are in full go to sleep. Okay, so everywhere up north here, if I can get out of the way a little bit, go to sleep. We're not worried about you. We are central Mississippi. We are watching Golden Triangle, Macon, back toward Louisville. But I don't have a whole lot down there even to monitor at the moment, partially because of the way the instability on this has worked out. Ahead of this, we're a little more unstable, but not nearly as much as they are down in central Mississippi. Good point, an example of that. Now, notice how much this has come up since last night. We had mid-50s on this at 5 and 6 o'clock last night. On the dew points, we're at mid-60s now. So moisture has definitely increased in Macon as we look out of our camera there at this point. That looking kind of more in a northwesterly direction, kind of into that line there of showers moving closer. That line also impacting locations back toward around Starkville, again, back behind this. And you look behind this line here in Starkville, and we show 59 as that dew point. That's a 6 degree difference there. So the air mass much more stable, quite a bit cooler there in Starkville. And so that difference behind versus ahead of that line as it kind of rolls through. And then coming down here, checking our camera there in Kosciuszko, 59, again, dew point 59 as well. So kind of the difference there, the contrast. Still lightning, still thunder, but we're not talking about severe weather with that. Excuse me. So at this point, so give me a moment here. I'm trying to check on our discussion with the Weather Service. Now checking our discussion with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. And things look like they're continuing to get into better shape. Good example of that is kind of clear things off here. And again, we've talked about all this, go to sleep. I wish I could put good text on here. That's something I can't at this stage do. Perhaps at some point I can find a way to make the system just plot the regular text on here. That's one of the features that I missed from the old one. But I do want to come south and show you they have gone ahead and dropped the tornado warning. As we talked about, there has not been substantial rotation of late on this. It will be interesting to see what happens as our line here from north of Brandon kind of merges with these storms back out toward Morton and moving toward Walnut Grove. How that merger happens should be really interesting to kind of see whether or not additional storms that try to produce tornadoes are possible. So that's what we're going to be watching for some of those folks out that way there. So let's go ahead and I want to look at the wind mode on some of these, just to sort of double check here. I don't see, so I would typically, we got a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to check another angle on that wind there. So you'll see more reds on what we call our radar relative wind. There's two types of ways in which we show wind here, right? Radar relative wind, and then we call storm relative wind. This is the one we typically look for rotation on, right? But sometimes I can catch it on the radar relative wind here. But most of the red you see out here is just the fact that it has to do with the wind direction at the pixel, at the point that the radar is hitting it there. So I don't want that to alarm you, but sometimes by just going back between those two radar modes, I can do a more effective job of kind of catching something. And I don't think there's a lot there to catch at the moment, thankfully, but we will see. Because again, we're luckily really close to the radar, but we just look for these areas where this kind of bends a little bit there, like what's east of Ridgeland. That's going to be one of those spots that we'll have to watch eventually. Once we get kind of merger with that storm near Morton and Forest, probably kind of out there north of Morton, if not Walnut Grove. We'll see. Let's come north here. Let's look at this one up here closer to Carthage, this kind of batch. We check out the shear, kind of the wind change. You'll notice there's a lot more shear down south versus what we have up here north. And that's kind of to be expected. This is one of the ways in which we kind of check that rotation threat. It's similar. It's kind of like the real-time product of those rotation tracks that we show when we're looking prior to an event, prior to a severe weather event. That's kind of what we're looking at on this. And so give me a moment. Shear swath. Hold on, low two. There we are. And so it looks like there's a ton out there. And again, there's a lot of turbulence, so that tends to really kind of show up with more than reality. I don't show anything out there. There's shear within this line, but I don't see any mega tracks of significance out there. So most of this is just the kind of wind change we expect this close to a radar site. Okay, so back over here to the regular precipitation mode. And again, a reminder, if you're ahead of this and you have concerns, it's always a good idea to kind of assess whether or not you're in a safe place. And so when we talk about active or severe weather like this, part of that assessment is kind of knowing what is unsafe. And so unsafe places would be cars, trucks, manufactured homes, are main unsafe places during a tornado. Now, let's be clear here. Most days of the year, manufactured homes are just fine, but when we start talking about tornado situations, that's not the case. We need a solid foundation, no matter what we're in, to be ahead of that. And so that's part of the reason why we always recommend, again, when we're assessing those safe places, we're looking for sturdy structure to where we can go to the small windowless room toward the middle of that on the lowest floor, place where we can wrap up in blankets, pillows, put on a helmet to protect ourselves from debris, and stay there until we get the all clear. I note that because, as you can see ahead of this, we now have a new, or not really new, but an extension of our tornado watch. So kind of pull on the alerts here. You see that tornado watch now expanded there, and including locations such as Leake County, Scott, Newton, Neshoba, Kemper, and Lauderdale counties, all that in effect until 6 o'clock in the morning for the potential to this continue to try to produce some rotation and possibly produce additional tornadoes. It's not an impossibility there. And then a severe thunderstorm warning continues for Scott, for Leake, for parts of Madison and Rankin County, that in effect until 3:15 a.m. Let's bring it back in here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Oops, I went wrong thing there. Let's bring it back in the whole state for a moment. The northern part of the state, we do have this flood advisory where we've had some heavier rainfall for some folks. And those rainfall totals have been fairly hefty over the last little while. Let's kind of see if we can check those out. 3-hour rainfall totals. The Jackson radar obviously shows heavier amounts, make it 6-hour rainfall totals. And up here in the northern part of the state, as we switch this over to our radar from Columbus Air Force Base there in Monroe County, yeah, you can definitely see where the amounts are more significant. We have some of the reds there. Again, rainfall amounts estimated up in excess of 4 or 5 inches. Now, I think that's, again, way overdone. Kind of looking at that, I can even kind of see along there's kind of an arc where it changes some. So, yeah, I think that's way overdone on that there. But it is a sign that there's a lot of rain with this, for sure. Let's go and, again, clear this back over to a normal shot here. Again, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather here. We're a 24/7 weather channel based out of the Tupelo area that does cover weather in other parts of the state. Mostly the northern half of the state, what we're covering here is our coverage area. If you know nothing about me, I was a chief meteorologist at a TV station in Tupelo for about 14, 15 years, and have in the last few months here moved to start this alongside of a number of other folks that are hopefully going to bring you some pretty good coverage here, even especially in severe weather. I would say Jackson Metro, kind of northward. When we talk about tornado potential, yes, severe thunderstorm warnings, not always. And I can't say that we're going to stay live nonstop on this one for the rest of the night, but we are going to keep watching things here for the next little bit as we come up on the 3 o'clock hour here. Again, an extension of that tornado watch out to the Mississippi-Alabama state line associated with this line here. So, again, monitoring locations near Bilbro's Corner. Got a lot. This is messy. This is really messy here. But the fact I have a little something kind of extending ahead there, let me clear this off. I apologize. I still said Yalobusha County on the top. We're looking here in particular at this severe thunderstorm warning instead for Rankin County in particular. Where you see that line coming out of it is the spot that I'm watching the most closely. As we look here at wind mode, I'm going to have to check from a couple different sites. Let me change this. That's looking from all the way up there in Monroe County. Now let's look closer by here from just down from the southern part of the county toward this. I don't have a very good wind return there of significance. And if we were looking for debris, we have to have precipitation to have debris. I don't have anything there that I'm overly concerned with. But watching that along Mississippi Highway 43, 481, moving toward Branch, we will see. Let's get a kind of short-term track on this for a moment. Again, this might not be anything. It certainly doesn't look like anything at the moment. And I'm going to apparently have to go really wide in order to get this track, because it's been moving about 45 to 50 miles per hour. I'll double-check that speed here in a moment. Let's come in a lot closer. Let's see, now we've had a new scan come in, so let's clear all that off. Apologize for that. Let's make this a slow loop. Make it a 15-minute loop here. So it's just, luckily we had these mergers happening, and there's just a lot of precipitation there. But I'm really interested in kind of this one back here from Clifton to Morton to see if that will end up merging into that line and what happens then, because we might get into some cleaner inflow once that happens. So I'd be looking out here, Lena, Estamil, Walnut Grove, Hayes, Piketown, Wolf, north of Forest in particular, for that merger to occur. And then we will see. I don't have a lot of clear air ahead of that. So that's a good sign. But anytime we start talking about cell mergers, we obviously have some concerns there as well. Let's see, checking out again our various wind modes. Not a lot there of major concern. And again, most of the blue you see back behind up there is not the hail threat. I'll turn off the watches for a moment. A little bit of hail threat potentially out of this as well, but we've had very few reports of hail related to this there. And certainly looking at our hail swath, I don't have anything. We're really getting into the yellows or reds. So this is not a significant hail situation, which is what we expected not to be a significant hail situation in this scenario. And again, appreciate True Shield Roofing for sponsoring this hail threat, kind of a new tool that we are luckily able to leverage in this situation. So largely, I think things are still looking pretty good there. For you, certainly better than they looked a while ago. Now let's look here south of Jackson. And let's go to the wind mode here. We'll call base velocity, storm relative. We got that one. Unfortunately, there's that one what is it? Cell phone tower that always kind of gets in the way of the radar sight down here. That's what this sharp line is. Is that sharp line? Is that that issue there? I think that's what's catching my eye. We'll see. Looks like there's some kind of, watch that little storm down the south side. We'll see whether or not that can get more active. Well, I'm going to change. I'm going to work on our track here. See if we can adjust the distance. I have to drag this out. Give me a moment. And then, so I've been using the same system for about the last 15 years, and that system has changed with this. And the one we have now, I think, does a great job. But there are just some quirks I'm having to learn on my workflow. So certain things are going to take me a little longer than they did before. So let's get a track on kind of where there is just maybe the hint of rotation on this one here, south of Ridgeland and Brandon there. We'll track it about 50 miles per hour. That doesn't get quite the forest on this track there. But we'll watch this just in case this gets a little bit more organized. Again, no warning for you in Ridgeland, Whitfield, Brandon at this time, but we're watching this, and then we got some viewers down there watching this at this point here. So Brandon, we're looking about 313 for you, kind of next bigger city there. Whitfield as well, 306 as that works its way toward the east. Yeah, I agree. National Weather Service is probably going to let this warning up here for Rankin County go at 3:15. I'm interested to see the merger here that happens, but there's just a lot going on there. And it does not look as well organized as it did. And hopefully that continues to be the case. But that's, yeah, about 30 minutes ago when we started this coverage, that looked a lot more impressive. Give me a moment here as I kind of check y'all in your Facebook chat here behind the scenes. Louisville wanting to know if, again, I know that overnight a lot of folks want to know, are they okay? Are you good? Let's come up here north to our primary coverage area. And I'm going to tilt the map probably too far so I can fit. Oop, hold on, this might zoom in too much. I got a lag going on. Okay, good? You happy? Okay. So I'd say everything up here north of Columbus and Starkville, we're done. So then never really began to a certain extent. Okay, so purple. So everything out here to the north, no issues, no concerns. You are good to go and in good shape. All right. So we're for most of us, that is the case. And so you don't have to worry. One of the things I recommend is Weather Call. For those of you that don't typically, watch what we do, Weather Call is a phone-based subscription service where basically you pay so that they call you. And it uses the warning outline, same warnings that we show you on the radar here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. It will call you if you're in that danger zone. And a night like tonight, you have no business staying up watching me if you're up here in the northern part of the state of Mississippi. If you're a typical viewer of us and what we do here on Mississippi Live Weather, what we did at the TV station, you don't need to be staying up all night with us. You need to be getting some sleep. Come on, we got Thanksgiving here in a day or two, and we need to do everything possible to try to be in good shape and ready for that. So I would definitely say that it is probably not worth your time to stay up all night with us. But if you have Weather Call, you don't have to. It'll call you if there's tornado warnings issued. It'll call you if something else is confirmed for your area. So certainly what I recommend for my family and for yours as well. As we bring it back here into the Virtual Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopp. Current time is 3:06 a.m. I'm probably not going to keep this going a super long period of time because my voice is rough at the moment. And I do hear Aaron saying Sipsey Fork. It's sounding rough outside. It is windy and breezy. We are not dealing with severe weather farther north. That's not to say you don't have a couple tree branches to come down here and there. It's gusty, but it is not as impressive as what we have down in central and south Mississippi, central Mississippi in particular. Madison asked, and she mentioned when we were at the TV station that she paid for weather call. Will it still work? Yes, it does. Now, it won't be my voice, and we recommend our version because there are a few other things that work a little better in it. But yes, it will absolutely work. If you have weather call from before, definitely you're in good shape there. For now, we'd appreciate it if when you renewed, you came over to what we're doing here. It does have, I think, a few extra bells and whistles that'll be helpful. But yeah, there are some power outages out there to report at this time. As you can see, Columbus area, I saw someone mentioning in our discussion back and forth a minute ago. Let's see, make that go off there. Columbus, we show a couple power outages there. I apologize, I'm runny nose. Is this not going to query on that? Oh, here we go. So Columbus, we show about 100 power outages there, about 100 for Grenada, Kosciuszko, similar number. But you get down here closer to, say, Canton, 300, Carthage, about 600. I'm going to have to clear all those probably to come down here. Oh, and that's my overlap on the yellow there. I was looking at that going, why is there so many there? Again, that's that severe thunderstorm warning is probably going to be allowed to expire here unless something more significant happens with that. Oh, duh. All these. I'm sorry. That makes way more sense. Hold on a second. Most of the reason I wasn't getting to come up there is because most of those blue counties I was also looking at were also the tornado watch. I apologize for that. Okay, but yeah, back where we did have that tornado touchdown, estimations around 2,000 power outages back there closer to Bolton, west of Bolton, north of Utica, east of Vicksburg there. And then some power outages all the way up into Tennessee as well. So anyway, all that to say, there are some power outages. You look at the percentage of people in some of those counties, and again, the amounts have remained pretty limited there as well, even though we also have, I guess, a few up here closer to Choctaw and Oktibbeha counties. But again, to kind of reset things, the part of the reason we're just kind of rambling, kind of looking at different things at the moment is because there is not a significant tornado threat at this exact instant, and certainly not here in the northern part of the state that we traditionally covered at the TV station and are covering now. That's not to say there isn't some gusty wind in this kind of leading edge there. Right, there-ish, that there's not some gusty wind on the front end of that. There absolutely is, but not enough to prompt tornadoes, severe thunderstorm warning, stuff of that nature. Let's look at that wind mode here for a moment, though, just to kind of give it the one over. And you can definitely see that some gusty winds there. This would be what we call the radar relative wind, so you can definitely see kind of the push ahead with that. And so, again, some strong gusty winds kind of at the leading edge of that. We'll do the radar relative wind, and we'll make this a 1 hour loop here. So the reason it changes over to the red is because as it passes over the radar site up there in Monroe County, it's inbound with the green toward the radar site and then pushing away after it goes beyond that there. So hold on a moment here. That's interesting. Looks like my color table has gotten changed up there at the top for one reason or another. If this happened before, I'll have to remember how to get it back. Either way, no real hail or anything out of this at this time. As you can see, our hail swath and our look at all that doesn't show anything, which it did have some down south earlier. So that tells you that, again, another sign that the storms up here remain relatively weak. Back to rainfall mode. And again, we'll watch it. Let's look out here north of Macon, northeast of Macon here for a moment, near Pickensville. Put it on the now time period. Just kind of poke this a few times. Wind there. There's just the littlest little indention there. Always kind of watching that closely when that ends up being the case. Let's go back a few scans. Nah, I think let's get a storm track on it. Most of this line is just kind of the rush of wind. It's going about 50-ish. So Pine Grove now, Delma 314, Prairie Point 314, Millport 316 as that kind of moves toward the east. Mainly this is some gusty wind, again, below severe limits, I'd say. But certainly mentioning Michael there in an artifact, I'm going to be dabbing my nose with a Kleenex here. Apologize for that. But the beauty of broadcasting from home in this situation is I'm not going to get anybody else sick because nobody else touches this equipment. But yeah, mentioning that there's definitely kind of windy there for locations there in Vernon. We're watching this closely for you. Power out in Steens, right down from the TVA building. Appreciate Tiffany for that tip there as we're just kind of watching this. When is the next round of storms? There's a decent chance there's not a next round of storms. We'll touch on that here in a minute. Is Columbus safe? Yes, Columbus is safe. Again, and if you're farther north, Guntown, I see someone asking about Guntown. Everywhere north behind this line, if you're in the rain behind this line at all, you are good to go. No issues out here for you. It's just, thankfully, some rainfall, which we need. Let's come back here towards central Mississippi here for a moment. Current time is 3:14, almost 3:15 a.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather on the Mississippi Live Weather app. Also available for Roku as well as Apple TV. If you do have a Roku TV, you want to watch us on the normal TV there. I know probably most folks are watching on this, trying to decide if they need to go back to sleep. Central Mississippi, we're going to probably need to kind of keep an eye on this. If you live farther north, our traditional coverage area, I would say you can go back to sleep and you're in great shape as far as this is concerned. We're watching a few spots down here as I put this onto a 30-minute loop. A few spots down here where we have a couple of these storms kind of merging in this line. This initial cell merger here that we've been watching for north of Forest. Looking good because it looks like there's just enough stuff down south to hopefully kind of eat into that there somewhat. And then we show again, as this is kind of lifting northward, we'll have to see that next storm. If that can get out here toward Decatur or Philadelphia or DeKalb, well, it'd be south of Philadelphia, but it'd be kind of probably north of Meridian, north of Decatur there before that merger occurred. That's got a long ways to go before something more significant happens. In just a moment, we should probably see that most recent severe thunderstorm warning removed. Yeah, you can see that there. And that's because, again, the threat where we previously had it there for severe weather out of that has diminished for now. That's not to say we don't have additional warnings that could develop, but a good sign there that hopefully we're kind of tracking the right direction as far as this is concerned with this. But this one down south here, we will have to see. And again, this is solidly south of the area we cover. So up here, where our typical coverage area is Sugarlock, back down here to south of Kosciuszko. So that's the traditional area and the area. I apologize. That we'll probably concentrate on tonight. Because of that, I'm going to probably need to get off here in a minute to make sure that I don't fully lose my voice in case something does end up developing later on today. Especially with, this is just, it's rather underwhelming, thankfully, for the most part. That's not to say we don't, and someone mentioned they did have a little bit of hail there in Caledonia, the power out there. Appreciate that report. Yeah, someone mentioned turn your phone sideways. That does definitely zoom it in there as well. Yeah, Columbus Air Force Base is good. Same thing I would say if you're in New Hope there. A lot of loud thunder with that. We'll see. And down here for Forest, for Newton, for Chunky, for Meridian there, let's make this loop because the storm we have down there with some clean inflow is one we'll have to watch. So this is a longer loop there. This one right there, once that gets out here north of Meridian, we'll have to see. That's in an environment where that could eventually get rough there. So let me get a longer track on that. Double check that angle. There we go, and let's make that a longer track. This is one to watch. We'll probably suspend coverage here in a minute because this is well south of our primary coverage area. And I'm gonna give some kind of bigger cities in advance of this there. Newton 342, 350 for Hickory, 356 there Chunky, and Marion we're looking at about 416. Of course, that'd be on the north side of Meridian there. So again, similar time there, 410 or so for Meridian to be on the south side of that. It might head a little farther north than that. But this is one to watch a little later on. It's got clean inflow south of it. I think North Mississippi Storm Chaser's watching that one closely, so we'll see how that ends up playing out. There is a tornado watch in effect, and if you are, looking ahead of this, always, an idea to kind of prepare ahead, keep that phone charged. Apologize if that has got the green background on me, so let's go ahead and change that. There we go. Keep your phone charged. Make sure you have on hard-soled shoes. Gather those important documents as necessary. And if you end up in a situation where it's likely you end up a tornado warning, you want to make sure you're within steps of that tornado safe place. And a mobile home is never a safe place. So if we're in advance of this, let's just be keeping a very, very close eye on this. Weather Service is doing a great job on that as well. But we might have to assess this in a different way. And so that's why we always talking about building your armor, making sure you have multiple ways to find out if you're in danger. Weather Call, Mississippi Live Weather app, National Weather Service, Weather Radio. Code Red is on that list, and that usually is a pretty decent alternative. We recommend Weather Call. I think it works better. But Code Red has had a hack, and so it actually is not delivering messages at this time, unfortunately. So, so you need to make sure that you have other sources on that list there. Local radio could work as well, but just as many layers as possible so that it's like, wait, and then your phone blows up. And sometimes that's a phone tree. That's having a good friend or family member that's watching over you that has one of those things. It says, yee, it looks like something's coming toward you. So be building that armor. That's one way again. And I'll pop this up, and then I think we'll probably kind of probably shut this down from here, at least for now. Weather Call, again, one way to stay ahead of severe weather in this situation, because they'll let you know if you're in that danger zone. It's a phone call. You don't have to do anything. It'll call you. It'll call you back if there's tornadoes that have been confirmed. The only recommendation, make sure it's in your favorites in your phone so it can bust through that Do Not Disturb. I don't know about you, but I have my nighttime Do Not Disturb set, and if it's not a certain few people, I don't get that alert. So hopefully that is something that you get. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to bring it back over here to radar. I think we'll leave the radar up for a little bit. I'm probably not going to really talk over it for a little bit here. We might send it back to the full-on channel here in just a little bit, but I'm going to clear this off. We'll bring it back over to the radar. Yeah, and again, Red Cross app. Lindsay's mentioned that. FEMA app. Yes. I had FEMA app and Red Cross app originally down on my list at the old place, and they are not on it now. Let me put that on my to-do list for today. I'll get that down there. Hold on. I will say this, the alerts on the Mississippi Live Weather app are really, really, really fast. So that's why I always watch it closely. I'm going to keep it on here. We're going to keep this up. I'm going to take my audio and stuff down. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to put the radar back up here in just a second. So give us just a moment here, and we will be back with at least the radar up as we're watching the storm south of Forest, just in case something else needs to come with that. So keep it here for the latest. Again, our next live broadcast, by the way, is going to be at 6:30 a.m. That's our next scheduled show. Our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, up and watching things behind the scenes here in our chat back and forth Just trying to see what's going on with this here. At latest, it'll be 6:30 a.m. She'll be on your television screen or on your device talking about the overall weather as well. But we'll be right back after this.
At First Choice Bank, Thanksgiving reminds us what truly matters: family. For over 125 years, we proudly support our local communities, helping families, businesses, and neighbors reach their goals. From all of us at First Choice Bank, we wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Give the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger, a soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli, appetizers and cocktails from The Grill, or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
At First Choice Bank, Thanksgiving reminds us what truly matters: family.
So you can kind of hear me behind the scenes for a minute. I'm going to leave this radar loop up for a few minutes here. I'm going to get some water. We're going to check and see if that storm south of Forrest decides to get more angry. If it does, we'll do additional coverage. If not, we'll send you back to the 24-hour channel. So I'm going to leave the live stream up here again for a moment while I grab some water. Oh, I did reference we'd talk about next round of storms. Hold on. I said we'd do it. We need to do it. So hold on. We'll address that, and then I'm going to go get my water and reassess here for a minute. So let's look at that. Let's do H. There we are. Let's see here. So give it a moment. Oh, that's going fast. There's no pause points there. Let's see, pause. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. Okay, let's stop that. Let's start it over. So that's doing an okay job of where we show it. At this point here, it does have a few storms trying to redevelop behind this, but they would be in the considerably cooler and more stable air 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. It does have a few storms there, again, developing near the Alabama state line before they roll into Alabama going into tomorrow. Today, I didn't sleep last night. I tried really hard. My brain does not reset. So until it goes to sleep, today is tomorrow. And so, yeah, you can see gradually eastward after that. So I think there's still at least a limited risk that this could possibly be enough to produce some severe weather, mainly to the east. Looking at the official zone outlined by the Storm Prediction Center, similar spots to what we had last night on that. So that all kind of shows the same thing there. So, yeah. So that is our look for later on today. I know that was kind of brief. We figured we'd keep it kind of short. And then I'm going to keep this on the radar here to kind of watch this zone. I'll keep it all the way up here so that we can see it up in Macon and Philadelphia, but definitely watching closer to I-20 for something more significant, if something more significant were to occur. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up for you. And yeah, we'll talk here in a minute if necessary, or we'll kick you back to the 24-hour channel. I'll probably wrap it up if we need to wrap it up here in a minute. I'll get you a storm track kind of ahead there for folks up here closer to Philadelphia. We clear off that watch. Leading edge of kind of that batch of wind there. Okay, we'll talk here in just a minute. Well, I figure while he's out and about on it, we should show Adrian with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers down there chasing in central Mississippi as he's monitoring some of the storms down there, trying to get down to I-20 in the right spot there. I think for that storm that we were looking at closer to the forest area in Newton. So he's trying to kind of get in the right spot there as he's cutting through some of the rainfall and some of the storms down that direction. So again, appreciate the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, a 501c3 that does a lot for our area. Those cameras we show, those are their cameras. What we've kind of helped from time to time with certain things behind the scenes, and got to give Standora and those folks a lot of credit on that camera network that they have put together. And this is Adrian with the Storm Chasers there, kind of trying to get in the right spot to make sure he can see what's going on with those storms down there in central Mississippi. So we bring it back here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar here for a moment. Again, continuing to kind of make sure to kind of mute his audio just in case. That line that we were tracking a moment ago, we can clear off our tracks on that. He's trying to cut down and kind of get into this storm that we're looking at here that had some little bits of rotation a few minutes ago, still just a little bit showing up there near the intersection of Scott, Smith, Jasper, and Newton counties, right at that intersection there where it's showing just the littlest bit. That's largely still pretty unimpressive at this point. So we will see whether or not that can take that next step. So still monitoring things here behind the scenes for a few more minutes. I'll probably kind of shut things down if we don't see this progress, because that has looked a lot less impressive in the last 5 minutes than it did before. So all we really had to do is just sort of shut things down and maybe get it to weaken a little bit more. Let's see here. Yeah, so that looked like it was going to kind of start wrapping around, and it has not. So good sign. Hopefully that continues. Okay, so again, if you're ahead of this, just a reminder that we want to be thinking about those layers as we build our armor, our protection. So I'll pop that up again. That Mississippi Live Weather app should be kind of on that list there. So building that armor. So I'm going to leave actually this up here. I'll mute my microphone. And I wonder, I don't think I can change what's back behind that there. Hold on, well, while we need it, let's see if, well, hold on. I see Maggie back behind the scenes there at home. Let's see if she wants to say something. You want to say something, Maggie? Okay, she's getting up and ready here. She's been kind of monitoring things from her home location on this. I'll double check. I should have a two box between the two of us. I think this is going to be the one. Yeah, when the time comes here in a minute. Okay, well, we'll talk to her here in a second. But in the near term, let's check out Adrian with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. Again, it's not going to look particularly impressive. He's in the dark, tracking these storms down there in central Mississippi. Yeah, just in the rain, kind of plugging away. And we appreciate, again, he's put on a ton of miles today, all the way back to Louisiana, I believe, right? Certainly back at least to the state line there. You probably kind of hear his audio behind the scenes. He's going through the driving rain. I'll check some power outages here as I wait for Maggie to get that on to just the radar screen back there. Oh, I'll bet I know what's happening. Since we're both logged in like that, that's what it is. Okay, so we have each of these set up a little differently. Okay. So that's why that did that a minute ago. I was trying to figure it out. Now I understand what's happened. Okay, so let's bring Maggie in here for a moment. Good morning, Miss Maggie. You doing all right?
Hey, yeah, good morning, good morning. I knew you would figure it out. But hey, it's 3:35, and we're up with everybody. I don't really have that much to say. Matt's been tracking everything other than the main severe weather is to our south. So that's some good news for folks. Might wake you up, might have woken you up. But overall, that main threat now sits to the south of our main viewing area. Again, right along really 20 right now, kind of seeing that shift continue to push off to the east. So we're continuing to track it. Again, I saw that tornado warning cell in Jackson earlier this morning. I've been up a lot. But other than that, I think we mainly here in North Mississippi just dealt with a lot of wind overnight. Matt, would you say that was the case? Same story?
Absolutely. Just gusty wind, and more like more mid-level or that might not be the right word, more low-level jet sort of winds as opposed to, hey, wind from the thunderstorms themselves, more wind mixing down. Was that a fair statement?
Yeah, no. And I think that kind of became prevalent yesterday with new model runs that came in. It kind of shifted into, we're going to see winds outside of storms that could become a problem. But then when you mix rain in with everything else, it just becomes kind of a mess. So definitely dealt with that overnight and kind of seeing things winding down. Matt, I saw you talk about models for tomorrow, things looking to shift a little bit further to the east with that overall severe weather threat. Same.
The thing is that if you believe the models, number one, this is faster than models had it, which is fine. It's good. And farther east than models had it. In order for you to get storms to kind of develop up here in that corridor of, say, Aberdeen to Kosciuszko, or close to the Natchez Trace, you're going to need to not work over the atmosphere. You're going to need recovery time. All that could happen. It's not like this is, but I mean, that's really pushing it. Agree?
Right. And I think the best setup is further east because they kind of work with that daytime heating too. Like they're kind of getting in those storms at the right time, opposed to us in the central portion of our area. Yeah, so that makes sense to me why that level 2 has been placed from Birmingham to Meridian, down to Montgomery too. So yeah, that all makes a lot of sense. I think that's going to be where the main threat is. Of course, we'll watch it over your morning hours, but I think into the early afternoon is a little bit further east is where we'll see a little bit more activity.
I agree. And I don't know about you, but just radar trend, even in the last 15 minutes, or honestly, last 5 minutes where we've been talking, that storm east of Forest just looks less and less impressive.
Yeah, I was seeing that as you were kind of tracking that out. It's like keeping an eye on it, but now it seems to kind of been falling apart as it crosses over 20.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, so with that in mind, I think we'll probably kind of wrap this up and shut this down here. Last thing I want to do is keep people kind of hanging on the line. I know we got a bunch of people watching on Facebook and YouTube and everything. But I don't want to keep everybody up and worried just because sometimes if you have it on, people are going to worry. We'll be monitoring things. You'll be monitoring things here behind the scenes if we need to do any additional cut-ins. But I appreciate you hopping on with us here for a moment.
Yeah, it's no problem. And again, I'll be up. So anything happens, we'll be hopping right back on. But I don't expect us to need to. But of course, we'll be on at 6:30 no matter what.
Absolutely. And you'll kind of get us looking toward that forecast for Thanksgiving and the Egg Bowl. We'll see. Are you going?
I don't think I'm going to go. It's just it's too cold for me. That. The front comes in, the cooler air comes in. I'm looking forward to the cooler air, but I don't want to be outside.
Yeah. So, I agree. This one will be a lot more comfortable to watch from a television set.
No, for sure, on my couch with my Thanksgiving leftovers. I think that's where I'll be.
Yeah, I'm hoping not to put on too much Thanksgiving insulation myself. Anyway, okay. Well, we will see you at 6:30. And before we go again, I'll just once again pop up. Appreciate that, our meteorologist Maggie McCauley. And I'll leave you on this here for a moment as we again rely on those multiple sources for severe weather information, just in case something weird happens. Mississippi Live Weather app, you can get that with those QR codes you see there. Next to me for iOS and Android devices, we have one for Roku, for Apple TV. Excuse me. And then Weather Call, before we're all gone. Do you want to pop up that again one more time there? It's so you don't have to stay up all night and worry. Weather Call is that alert that will keep you safe and keep you ahead of the storm. Okay, so folks asking about all these other locations, Hattiesburg, locations down south. a long ways to go before this gets to some of those spots. And there is a severe weather risk for you later on today related to this. Weather Call will work in any location around the country that you sign up for it. So it's not just a North Mississippi thing. You put in your address. I have my parents back in Kansas on my weather call here. So my parents hear a Mississippi Live weather call from Mississippi Live Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon up in Kansas where they're at there. So you can sign up for our weather call anywhere around the country. So anyway, with that in mind, there is, to a certain extent, I would say that I have low confidence that we would have another round at all, largely. I'm going to pull up moment. Where are we at? Updraft listing. There we are. Press grad. Okay, I'll play this, and then I think we'll kind of wrap things up here. So this, as we transition that there. Oh, that's all big from the fact that Maggie's logged in. So let's go back to this. So this is one of those things we were looking at last night. And again, this kind of overdoing clearly the intensity on the storms we have out there now. But what it's showing is, again, the broad rotation some of these storms have had from time to time. But we're looking for this for the second round to see kind of what the next batch is that could develop. It does show some isolated storms kind of redeveloping along our boundary there through maybe late morning there, and then possibly strengthening once again into the afternoon as they can work east and try to possibly spin something up out in Alabama. We'll see. But big takeaway on this is our primary round is what we see right now, even on the latest version of our models, which is a good sign. We want the primary round to be what we're looking at right now, because hopefully that means things weaken as we go into and through the remainder of today. Okay? So as necessary, again, we'll bring you additional updates here. But for our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon from Mississippi Live Weather. We will see you coming up here at 6:30 a.m. For the very latest on what's going on. And if necessary, obviously, we'll see you a little bit sooner than that. So appreciate everybody for watching us all around the state. And keep it here for the very, very latest.
Give the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger. A soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli. Appetizers and cocktails from the Grill. Or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
At First Choice Bank, Thanksgiving reminds us what truly matters: family. For over 125 years, we proudly support our local communities, helping families, businesses, and neighbors reach their goals. From all of us at First Choice Bank, we wish you a happy Thanksgiving.